Good morning, Mona. It is Andrea. Yes, I am presenting to you my feedback on parts 2 and 3 of your final project in the course Graphic Design 2. So I was just waiting for those infamous files, and I'm really glad that you sent them to me just a few minutes ago because they are not the files that I opened up, and it would have been far more problematic had I had to grade the other ones that had been sent to me. So you were in charge of B2, which means that it was the corporate pages, if you wish, to Facebook and Instagram for Olux, with posts, both viewed on desktop as well as mobile. Okay, so for this you needed to go back to the theory that was discussed in our mock-ups class in a practical exercise where you had a newsletter to design both for a desktop view, and I should say it's a digital newsletter. And then you had to, conversely, transform it into a mobile view because we know that evidently the size of the screens are very different, which means that the information needs to very often shift clearly. So I have your 4 files open here. So here I'm not really sure what I have. When I shrink it, I see that I simply have this image, excuse me, which is a cover image. I have Instagram, which looks like it's simply the template, no posts. Here I have a complete Facebook with post, which is for Facebook. Yeah, and then this one is... Okay, so the cover image here is great. You've got the profile image, and then you have the photo with information here. This is like as if we click in. Okay, we click in. All right, I'm just understanding this. So first observation is that there is no mobile views. Okay, I see that all we're dealing with here appears to be, when I'm looking at this, 800. Let me just take a look at this here. 800 too. So we're really looking at a desktop view. So unless I've misunderstood something, because this really is of no, it gives no grades per se. I'm not really sure why this was sent. A banner in this case, when written, and I explained this in class, it was really the banner part to the corporate page, okay? And here I accept it wholeheartedly. Whoops, not this one here, this one. No, this one. I wholeheartedly accept this with content, no problem. It could be 2 in 1. But I don't have mobile, so right there, mobile was half the grades. So I will unfortunately have to deduct 10 points off because I don't have the mobile. That being said, for the actual desktop, you did a very good job with Facebook. Excellent job. But we're going to get into the opening parameters in a minute because I see a little bit of an issue. With Instagram, unfortunately, like the banner's there, I'll give grades for that, but there's no content, which you admitted in the presentation. So it's not going to be really great grades for this, but I think everything else is going to compensate for it, so you're not going to feel that much of a pinch. When we look at the opening parameters here, Mona, the first thing that comes to my attention is that the intent is been put to print when in fact this is web These are web supports. So that's the first big problem. The second problem is facing pages. Facing pages is only, as you know, for printed documents. The third is that there are no bleeds necessary for digital supports, because we're not dealing with printed material that needs to be cut. Thus, we incorporate bleeds to compensate for the possibility that the blade would come down at a slightly different measurement, and we don't want to see the white of the paper. This is the first problem. You rightly put margins to kind of keep a certain aeration going in the composition. That's great, no issue there. When I look at the links, and I'm just, this is my first time going through them with you. I'm just going to come up here. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Good. RGB in all cases. Oh my God. CMYK, CMYK, ugh. My belle Mona, what is going on? This was not, these were screen snapshots, weren't they? Yeah, they weren't. They were screen snapshots. Oh, listen, honey, let's go for the Insta here for a second. Okay, same problems, same things. Should be web. No facing pages, no bleeds. Okay, so similar mistake. In terms of presentation, I'm going to jump from this because clearly you can see that when there's not going to be very many points allocated for the 20 points in production. I guess this was done rather last minute, and maybe you were busy with a whole bunch of, well, one would say you were definitely busy with other things, if only with being a mom. But the presentation went very well. Overall, I loved your, and I say your as in your team's project was really great. In terms of design, you feature very nicely the concepts of the garments, which is very important in a pop-up, because a pop-up does not have a pied-à-terre somewhere, so as in a point of sale that's constant. So it's very important that the cover images be either announcing the opening or featuring the garments. I will say to be cautious, Mona, because I see something very romantic, very feminine in the garments you've picked, and they're slightly different than the garments that I've shown in Annex A. I'm accepting them wholeheartedly. There's no grades being deducted, but it's also because we talked about this. The garments are a little bit, with the exception of the two dresses, are a little bit more genderless. So I thought I'd mention that I find them very, very romantic with the little flowers in her hair there. That's so Mona, really. That's very Mona. Listen, my dear, everything else is very, very good. And if I recall correctly, I don't have my file right in front of me right here, right now. Your grade was very good for part A, so part 1. The loss of grades are only going to be in this section, not in the design section, certainly not in the presentation section. Mona, it has been an absolute pleasure to teach you. I hope you bear this in mind, Mona, because I know, well, anyhow, what you should be learning next semester coming up this summer, you will need to be doing a lot of social media. So please remember that it must be always web intent, no bleeds, RGB color space, always, always, always. Work on layers. Great. You worked on layers, but name your layers. It gives nothing if we can't know what's on the layers just by quickly reading the label, okay? And you should be really good to go. I wish you the very best. It has been a pleasure teaching you, and don't be a stranger. Take care.